Ahoy everyone, welcome back. Today we are doing 2 Smuggler Voyages, and that's all we've got today. It's gonna be a pretty short episode, but hopefully you enjoy. This is Inside the Sea. So, today starts by checking out the map. As one of the 2 new Smuggler Voyages, the route is consistently placed on the map at all times. It will be changed per season, they say, and thus, so the voyage will always take place between those 2 islands. You always start at one, and the loot will go to the other island. This way, it is a known route at all times for the voyage, so that other people can intercept you or stop you or anything like that. Now, the Voyages are in their own Smuggler League faction place, it seems. I feel instead they could be placed in the Special Voyages section under their own little Smugglers Run section for the Special Voyages instead of what seems to be like making them their own faction when they are indeed not their own faction. We're going to go ahead and do one. The notes that you're given are kind of like riddle clues in a way that kind of just suggest. They tell you what island you're supposed to go to without telling you what island you're supposed to go to, even though it says the exact maps, like the map coordinates for the island that you're supposed to go to. So I don't, it kind of feels defeating the purpose. What's the point in telling, like giving a slight riddle of where you're supposed to go, if in the bottom corner of the paper, you're just going to give the map coordinates of where you're supposed to go? It doesn't make sense to me. But this is where they're just reskinned cargo runs. The paper tells you where to go to pick up the cargo, and then the cargo will have notes on them that tells you where the cargo is to be taken and turned in at. And that's all there is to it. I play a little game with myself here of trying to guess which closer end of the smuggler items, islands that the cargo is going to be sent to. And I was actually right the first time. They do go to Crooked Masts. Another thing about these voyages, though, that you'll notice the minute I hop onto the island is that skeletons spawn on me, which not too bad at first when you realize that they are glitched at the current moment. They are supposed to be phantoms, and not only are they supposed to be phantoms, the more tedious AI enemy to fight, they are guaranteed to spawn in on the islands while you do this voyage. There's also some weird invisible barrier right here where they moved the NPC. Yeah, they moved the NPC to a new spot on this island, and there's some really fucking weird invisible barrier there. This is just the peak secret insider stuff you get while playing on Insider version. It's just kiss, honestly. But yeah, you get so for each of the voyages, whether you're doing this normal voyage that takes you between any islands, or you're doing the special route voyage that takes you between the guaranteed set 2 islands, you are always given a crate of rum, a painting, and the explosive barrel. Now, it doesn't sound too bad at first, till you realize, especially when you realize doing the set route voyage, that 2 of 3 of these pieces of cargo can break and be either unsellable or to the point where they're so cheap you might as well not sell them. Because if you get into a fight with somebody while doing these voyages, those rum bottles break, they're going to be completely worthless. You get into a fight with somebody and that barrel explodes, you're not even going to be able to sell it at all. And you'll probably sink. So, the only real thing that you're going to ever be able to potentially actually sell is the painting. And they're not really worth that much. There's more AI threats to spawn into, of course. So that's fun. I also killed a pig on accident. Oh, I'm so sorry, Piggy. I didn't mean to. But, so, and on Insider, the forums where you're allowed to actually give proper feedback that the devs will see, there has been a lot of controversy, I suppose you should say, about these voyages, as not only are they reskins of the most boring voyages in the entire game, being cargo runs, not only also are they guaranteed to have AI threats while you're doing the voyages, but you also have the whole downside of the cargo potentially being destroyed fairly easily should you ever get into a fight with anyone while doing these missions. These are all the exact setbacks that normal cargo runs have, and the reason that nobody does normal cargo runs these days. Because there's just the risk and reward is too risk and no reward. Not to mention throw in the extra fact that due to these guys not having their own proper faction or anything like that for them, there is no guild towards them. Or not guild. There is no emissary for these guys. So you cannot do anything to help boost the gold gain that you'd get from these things. Or there's no rep of any kind that you'll get from this stuff. They might make it so that it works towards guild stuff. Unfortunately, on the Insider currently where I set, I have no access to guilds. So I'm not, I don't have guild emissary to test that the guild emissary works with it or anything like that. But if that does work, that might alleviate it a little bit, but still, it's still just boring cargo runs followed by forced AI interactions and a set route to forced player interaction that would potentially destroy the cargo entirely to make it unsellable and worthless. Now, I personally think that instead they should kind of lean into that aspect of destroyable cargo. Where others don't like that aspect, I think they should lean into it and make it more actual pirate-based. Where your goal is to, instead of destroy and sink the enemy ship to steal their cargo, you simply incapacitate them and then steal their cargo from there and then sail off with their undamaged cargo, rather than just going in, straight guns blazing the minute you see a ship, and try to sink them. That way the cargo doesn't get damaged, so you actually have the cargo to steal and loot. Oh, it's official. The bilge rats are no longer in. They've renamed the bilge rat adventure section to adventure, or like adventures on the sea or something like that. Yeah, adventures at sea. They renamed the bilge rat section. So it's official. Bilge rats no longer exist in the game. But you'll see we're here at the island to sell the loot, and we're being assaulted by phantoms because it's nighttime. Even though phantoms are supposed to always spawn in during it. At the current moment, it's only phantoms at night. But we sell the painting first, and the painting is not worth very much at all. Granted, they did say price values are tester at the current moment, so they're not like final. As we'll see when we sell the other two items, I really hope they're not final, and it really shows because these things are not worth the supposed risk that they're supposed to entail while carrying them on your ship. Also see with this amazingly placed keg that things are not accommodated for the new stuff on the islands yet. They've also installed the traps on the hideouts. So for all the little smuggler hideout things and stuff like that, all the traps are actually installed. There's actually traps that you can use or that will get activated and stuff like that if you step on the pressure plates. And then some of them, like this one, have switches that you can pull that manually activate them too. Which is pretty interesting, to be honest with you. Don't really see them getting too too much use, but I suppose it's still something interesting nonetheless. As you see, we sold the keg for not a lot. Granted, 11k for the keg isn't, or for like the explosive barrel isn't not too bad, but still. And then the rum is only worth 10,000. Granted, that is full condition though, so it could be, if you ever get into combat while carrying these things and they get broken and shattered in any way, they'll be worth way less. But, and then of course, as the voyage completes, we also have to get ambushed and assaulted by skeletons, so that's always fun. And then we go ahead and check out the switches to activate the traps, which again, I don't really see them getting too much use or value or anything like that out of them, but I guess it's still kind of cool regardless. Pressure pads also work on the outside. Interesting though that the pressure pad that I step on right there only activates the one side, while the switch on the inside not only activates both, but it activates both twice. So that's interesting. So we're on Crescent now for the shared voyage, and I believe I found one of those smuggler things that can spawn in on beaches and stuff like that. This one had skeletons apparently with it, and of course an explosive barrel. Decided to make one of the skeletons carry it. I also killed a phantom apparently, and as you can see, there's more traps outside of this den. Different traps for each of the dens too, which I thought was kind of cool. Pretty interesting. Also, something that was very interesting was the way the skeleton was carrying the barrel. It's very, again, just peak insider stuff right here, to be honest with you. It's just, honestly, that's how everybody should carry the barrel, I think. But that's just me. And then we grabbed cargo for the voyage. And then an interesting thing, I actually grabbed the barrel from him and sell it. And that naturally spawned barrel was worth 15k. So they were worth even more than the ones from the voyage. Even though they're the same exact thing. I also tried to be pretty cheeky and sell the item. Sell the item that she just gave me right back to her, like that was gonna work or something. But I also like the way the rum looks. It's got a little bit of a Athena touch type thing to it. Looks pretty interesting. So me and my newly found skeleton army decide to take everything back to the ship. And magically, we're on Smuggler's Bay to sell everything. We're also spamming the fuck out of the new kegs fuse. Spamming the fuse, and the spark doesn't line up with the fuse line at all whatsoever. And it is not very spam proof. As you could see, like, you could just spam it and the light would, like, stay there for a while afterwards and stuff. It was bizarre. But we'll sell it, and again, even though this is the shared route voyage and stuff, the keg is still only worth 11,250, while a naturally spawned one that we seen earlier on Crescent was worth 15k. They're the exact same barrel. Why are they worth different values? Why is it even a potential for them to be worth different values? Also, the ghost died to the trap. Thought that was kind of funny. Now, I was nervous to walk back over that, as you can see, because I was afraid it was going to pop up again. Because the traps on most of the other islands, once you pull those switches on the inside, the trap activates twice. This one didn't activate twice for some reason. And I was very cautious. Now we sell the special rum for the shared voyage, and it's only worth 10,000. I feel like that was worth even less than the rum for the normal voyage was. And then there's this whole interaction with the skeleton. I hit him 3 times, he doesn't die. I blocked one of his attacks that it didn't actually block it. I attacked him and he wasn't blocking, but he blocked it anyway. It was a whole mess. I don't even want to know. And then finally we saw the painting that's a part of the shared voyage, and it was only worth 5,000. So, granted, that one was actually worth more than the painting from the original voyage, but still. 5,000? Yeah, I don't know. All these gold values seem very low. We also get a random 25,000 gold. I'm assuming the voyage itself just gives you that for completing it. I'm not, because I can't think of anywhere else that gold would have come from. No way it came from the season pass. You wouldn't get that much gold at once from the season pass, so my best bet is you get 25k for completing the shared voyage every single time. Only the shared route voyage, though. Not the normal one. The normal one doesn't give you any gold for completing it. So, basically, all in all, to sum things up, I believe that the way they have things currently set up for the Smuggler voyages, it seems as though the Smugglers League is its own special faction and everything like that, with how they have things set up on the captain's table, where since it's not going to be, I believe they should have just thrown it in their own special category here on the special voyages, like where under the limited voyages, there could literally be a new blue section that's just called the Smugglers League or something like that has the 2 smuggler runs in it, and then that's it. Because with how it is now, it seems like it's supposed to be a whole new faction, and they said it's not going to be. That's just what I think. I also believe that the voyages themselves, regardless where in the captain's table they are, the loot in them should all be, very fragile type loot that can easily break should you get into ship combat with somebody. That way it's more of a methodical, thought out process to try and steal the things from other people. I realize they're just reskinned cargo runs, so they very easily could have done something a little bit more interesting with it. And I think if they did the whole bad cargo type of thing to it, to make it so that the stuff broke very easily from cannon fire and everything like that, it could be a little bit more interesting. That way you're more set to either be careful with fighting people to steal the loot, or instead of directly fighting people for the loot, you would say go to one of the islands that they're heading to set up an assault on them to steal just the loot itself. But that's the only thing I can think of. Since the gold values of everything is placeholder at the current moment, this would be a good time to set things up to make sure that the gold is worthwhile. Barrels should all be worth 15k. The rum should be worth more for the shared voyage, as opposed to being the same. I went back, I looked. The rum for both voyages are valued at the exact same currently, which is not right. And then the paintings should be worth at least a little bit more than what they are currently. Like the painting for the main voyage should maybe be worth like 2,500, while the shared voyage one is worth maybe triple that or something like that. I don't know. All in all, they're not really interesting. There's nothing really interesting too much with this. And as it sits right now, the very first month and start of season 17 is looking to be fairly boring and lackluster. So yeah, to wrap it all up, this is a rather shorter episode as they only added the 2 new voyages and there really isn't too much on it The voyages are fairly lackluster. They're really not worth doing in the slightest or anything like that, and they're really boring. The only slight interesting concept between all these voyages and all of this stuff is it's a guaranteed way to get the super strong barrels for explosives, and the whole set route for the one voyage that always takes place between the two islands, so everybody always knows that that's something that's going on. Other than that, though, it's all just cargo reskins and lackluster as it sits right now. But I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.